This video is sponsored by... Hello? Never gonna happen? Oh, they saw the hostage video. Today we're talking about tips to reduce risk buying on Buyee. The first tip I have for you guys is do not trust condition descriptions or the listing descriptions for the item. Now, just like TCG Player or Troll and Toad, the condition descriptions are extremely subjective, and it's very easy on Buyee, Mercari, or Yahoo to find cards that are listed as close to unused or no obvious damage or dirt that have clear creases, bends, dents, whitening around the edges, so you can't blindly look at that condition description and purchase based on that information. The listing descriptions are also pretty untrustworthy, and that's from both sides. A lot of times there will be fake cards that will not have proxy in the listing description. So you might see $100 Poncho Pikachu, and if you go into this website thinking that it is just the land of cheap, mint cards, then you might be tempted to purchase that card. And if you look in the description, it's not going to say proxy. But on the other side, there are all sorts of caveats that you're going to see on a Buyee listing that could provide some pause to you actually purchasing the item. But let me tell you, it is on almost every listing. Most of these sellers do not accept returns, and a lot of them will have the line similar to, since it is a used item that has been stored by an amateur, please refrain from those who are looking for a perfect item or those who are nervous, and only those who can understand. So a lot of times you'll see some sort of variation of this particular sentence, and that doesn't mean that the card is damaged in any way. They're just trying to caveat their listing so that if there is a potential issue, that it won't come later to bite them in the ass for a refund. And that's why right after that, a lot of times you'll see that they don't accept refunds. That doesn't mean that the card in the listing isn't perfect or mint or near mint. It just means that that person's trying to do their best to make sure that no one refunds the item. My number 2 tip is overanalyze the photos and never buy a card without a back pic. Now, sometimes you can get lucky if the card is ultra modern, if you can tell that it was literally ripped from a pack, like if it's a triplet beat card, the set that literally just came out, a week ago. A lot of times you could get lucky. Maybe you don't need a back pick, and maybe you can buy that and it shows up in mint condition. If it's anything older than that, do not buy stuff without back picks. A lot of people post close to unused or no obvious damage, and then they don't provide you a back pick, or even sometimes they'll provide you a back pick, but the card is in the freaking sleeve, so they give you literally a back pick of the sleeve. A lot of these sellers, whether or not they're doing it on purpose, are very good at washing out whitening on the backs of these cards and washing out bends or dents or creases when they take the photos of the backs of these cards. It's almost a talent. It's almost an art form. And I don't know if they're doing it on purpose or not, but a lot of times you'll see these great back photos. They're super detailed. They're high res. You can see everything. But once you get that card in, it's got whitening in several different places. It's got a bend on the back. And because of the lighting setup that they use or whatever, it completely washed out every issue that was on the back of that card. So a lot of times, even if you overanalyze the pictures, you download it, you go in, you zoom, you take a look at all of the corners and edges and everything, 65 to 70% of the cards that I do that with still come in with damage that was not spotted by me on the photos, and honestly a lot of times isn't even visible on the photos. Tip number 3 is keep a list of the bad sellers that you encounter and cross-reference them when you're purchasing new cards. I have a list of all the sellers that have listed cards at close to unused or whatever, and they show up and they have bends or creases, and when I'm going to purchase a new card, I will copy the seller name and I will Control F in my list of sellers, and I'll see if I've bought from this seller before. And if I haven't, then a lot of times I will give them a shot. But if I have, and that experience was not good, and I got a card that was damaged, I just do not buy from them again, because I cannot trust that their listing descriptions and their condition descriptions are good. This takes me into my number 4, is that feedback is okay to use, but ultimately not accurate. A lot of good sellers on Buyee, where I've gotten some mint cards at decent prices, have low to no feedback, but it's still pretty trustworthy to buy from them. A lot of sellers that I've had negative experiences have, 2,000 positive feedback and, 10 negative feedback or whatever, and I buy cards from them and they show up in worse condition than they looked in the photos. It's really a crapshoot when it comes to feedback. Why do I say that it's not accurate? I had an experience where I was sent fake cards, and I tried to get a refund. I tried to do everything that I could through Buyee to make it right. Buyee refused all of my things, and at the end of the day, I just said, hey, can you just leave negative feedback saying that fake cards were purchased from the seller so that I can at least do some good for other people that might buy from them. And Buyee flat out told me they would not leave negative feedback because they care too much about their reputation in Japan and they don't want negative feedback themselves as a buyer. So a lot of people buy from Japan, they get scammed, they have negative experiences, and Buyee doesn't even place negative feedback for those experiences on behalf of those buyers. A lot of these sellers might actually have a lot more negative feedback, and it might be a more accurate way for you to figure out whether to buy from them or not through the feedback, but unfortunately, Buyee doesn't do that. My number 5 applies to just about everywhere on the internet when you're purchasing things. It's that if it's too good to be true, it definitely is, especially on Buyee. A lot of times, I have made my best purchases by purchasing things that look too good to be true, whether they were collection buys or single card purchases or anything like that. But on Buyee, all of my experiences in which, or other people's experiences that have talked to me or talked in Discords about different scammed experiences they've had in Buyee, a lot of times you're purchasing really high value cards for really low amounts of money, because what other YouTubers may sell you about Buyee or about these other proxy services is that Japan is like this mystical land full of really cheap vintage cards. It's full of deals and you can make so much money and blah, blah, blah. There isn't a place like that exists, and it definitely isn't Buyee. I've seen people buy first edition Charizards for $100. I myself have fallen into, I bought 2 Poncho Pikachus for way less than Poncho Pikachus were going for, but because those listing descriptions were not accurate, there was no proxy in the listing description, I ultimately got screwed. I ultimately got scammed. They sent me the cards in which I shouldn't have purchased because I should have known that it was too good to be true. And I was sold that idea of everything coming from Japan is a deal and you can get things super cheap, bring it to America, make a bunch of money and everything. If it's too good to be true, it definitely is. Don't go out buying $2,000 cards for $100 on Buyee thinking that you got a deal, because that thing's going to show up and it's going to be fake. If you do get scammed, what is a way that you can protect yourself or get a refund from Buyee? The only way to do this is my number 6 tip, is to use extra layers of protection, your credit card connected to a PayPal account. That is how I do it. I have 2 layers of protection. I have my credit card that's connected to my PayPal account that then purchases things on my behalf from Buyee. Now, the problem here is if you force a refund with Buyee, they will most likely just ban your account, no matter if you get scammed or how much money you get scammed for or anything like that. That is what happened to me. I bought a couple of Poncho Pikachus for a few $100. Obviously, that's kind of my fault there, but I wanted to initiate a refund. They rejected my refund, basically told me, you bought the fake product, sorry, we don't guarantee that things show up are going to be real. And then I forced a return with PayPal and my credit card company. Well, I was then immediately banned from ever being able to use the service again, unless I repaid them the money that I took from them for the return. It sucks, but that's kind of what it is. So make sure that you're using those extra layers of protection so that, let's say if PayPal declines your refund, then you can go to your credit card company. And between the two, you're going to be able to figure out a way to get your money back. And last but not least, number 7 is something that I've talked about throughout the entirety of this video, is Buyee will not help you. We've already discussed a lot of ways in which Buyee will not help you, but just take it from my personal experience. If you are scammed, Buyee has in their terms of service that they do not verify things coming through their service, and they are not at fault if you purchase something fake. The only way that I've ever been able to get money back from Buyee is claiming that cards have been damaged in shipment coming from their warehouse to America. You might be able to, I've only been effective once doing this, but you might be able to get a refund if a card shows up that's not the original card that was in the photos and it has more damage, because you might be able to claim that it was damaged in the shipping process and get a refund. That's the only way that I've ever gotten a refund or any money back from Buyee. Otherwise, you have to protect yourself by trying to reduce your risk as much as possible while using Buyee, using the other 6 steps that I have here. If you want to check out the video where I got scammed and I go into detail on my experience trying to get a refund through Buyee, check out this video where Buyee held my account hostage after I was scammed.